Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled parent stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen feels entitled to my house because she's a doctor. I kick her out. After that, entitled uncle complains about Halloween makeup. Dad kicks him out. And after that, Karen is mad I have my baby in my place of work. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen slips on a banana peel. Someone's been playing too much Mario Kart. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen feels entitled to my house because she's a doctor. I kick her out. I'm 26, female, and my sister, who's 35, lost her home due to her husband gambling. They practically lost everything and were forced to eviction. Our parents had always preferred my sister way more. She's the perfect child, perfect husband, perfect house, perfect career. She's a doctor, and thus she came to me for help. She cried and begged me to please let her stay here with me and to not tell anything to our parents until she was divorced. I did, because I know how mean they can be. My boyfriend and I own a 2-bedroom apartment. The guest room that's rather small, and our room that's a lot bigger, and it has an en-suite bathroom with a bathtub. This is important. My boyfriend is currently staying with his parents in Texas, so I have the whole house to myself. We talked about it, and we agreed to let my sister use the guest room and pay minimum rent for a few months. Everything was fine at first, until a few weeks ago when we had some problems with the bathroom my sister uses and she had to use mine. When she found out I had a bathtub, she was thrilled. She asked why I didn't say anything before, and I told her because it was my personal bathroom and I didn't need to. The problem got fixed in 2 days, but every once in a while she asks to use the bathtub. I said yes a few times until she just stopped asking and began to go into my bath every time she wanted. She then tried to leave her products in there until one day I found her sleeping in my bed. I woke her up and told her to get out, but she said that it wasn't fair that I had the better room with the better bath and everything, that she was a doctor and deserved the room way more, and the best thing was to move to the small room and let her have the big one. I was mad. I couldn't believe that she was in my house trying to rule me. I told her that this wasn't just my house, but my boyfriend's too, and that she had to get her things and leave. She said I was overreacting, and I told her that yes, sure, but I know how things usually are, and I don't plan to have it her way. She said that she didn't have anywhere else to go, and I told her, too bad. She had to come clean to my parents and is currently staying there. They're mad at me for kicking her out and forcing her to embarrass herself in front of them, and that I owe her my house for free as long as she wants. Entitled uncle complains about Halloween makeup. Dad kicks him out. Backstory. At the time of this story, I, 19, female, lived in a house with my 5 siblings, my parents, grandparents, uncle, and his twin sons. My siblings and I shared a room. My parents had a room, and my grandparents had the back room. My uncle and his kids lived in the backyard in a tent. The reason they lived in the backyard is because my uncle used to treat my parents like it was his house and would criticize how we would clean. When my parents told him that it was their house and not his, he bought a tent and refused to come back in. My siblings and I do not get along with our uncle because he had always disrespected us and called us names. His kids were no better. They would constantly be telling us that we need to stop doing boy things. My siblings and I would also have to keep all of our valuables close because our cousins were known thieves. At this time, I had been experimenting with special effects makeup and liquid latex. This story takes place 3 days before Halloween and on Halloween. Characters. We've got me. We've got my 4 siblings. We've got cousin 1, cousin 2. We've got Uncle G and Dad. Story time. I had just started working on a makeup look in my bedroom when cousin 1 walked in on his phone looking around. I ignored him and hoped he'd walk away and just leave me alone without any confrontation. Of course, that was too much to ask. After hanging up the phone, he walked up to me and just stared. Cousin 1.
OP, no boy will ever want you if you keep wearing makeup and dressing like that.
I just nodded without looking up from my mirror. I know he hated when he couldn't get a rise out of me, but I didn't want to give him that satisfaction. Cousin 1.
OP, I'm talking to you. I'll tell your dad that you're being rude to me and you'll get in trouble.
See, I knew he was lying. He wasn't supposed to be in my room when nobody was home. If my dad knew that he was in the room, the boys and my uncle would be locked out of the house. He then started to tap my mirror while I was doing my contour. At this point, I was getting really angry and irritated. I decided to finally answer him. "What do you want?"
Quit ignoring me. No man wants a girl so obsessed with her makeup. You need to get rid of it.
He walked up to my desk and started grabbing my stuff. I don't use most because they were colors I didn't like to use. But then he grabbed all of my eyeliners, so I got up and grabbed the makeup out of his hands and put it back where it belonged. "No, I don't think so. Leave my stuff alone. Get out of my room. I wear makeup because I like it."
You're ugly with or without it anyway. No one will ever like you. You don't even have talent. Your makeup looks horrible.
He hissed out with a smile. With that, I felt my ears get hot and I pushed him out of the room. If I had a door, I would have slammed it. I'll admit, I may have pushed him a little bit rougher than I meant to, but I was angry. I always got comments about my makeup because I have a more alternative style and I like bold colors. I told my sisters about everything that happened and they just told me that he was a jerk and they all loved my makeup. They also had asked me if I was still willing to do their makeup for their Halloween costumes. Of course, I said yes. Halloween arrived and I began doing the girls' makeup while my cousins sat and watched. Two of them asked for lots of liquid latex and fake blood, seeing as they were doing zombies. It was perfect.
Of course they'd want to be something that a boy should be. I bet that's why you cut your hair,
commented cousin 2, making cousin 1 laugh out loud and my sisters look sad. I saw my sisters start to pick at the liquid latex and they were trying to get it off. Me. "Hey girls, don't forget that y'all are gonna be the scariest looking zombies ever. Y'all better act like it. Tell you what, you can take 2 of my black shirts and tear them up for your costume. Sound good?" When I mentioned my black t-shirts, they got really happy and ran to my closet. I turned my head immediately towards my cousins and just snapped. "You guys have no business talking to my sisters like that. Do it again and I'm going to kick your butt." Before they could say anything, my sisters ran back in with some shirts and scissors. While they were tearing up the shirts, I started on my youngest sibling, who asked me to make her a rainbow skeleton. The cousins were silent while I did her face. Hopefully, they'd be silent throughout the rest of the faces. The last sibling asked me to do a Guy F mask. She had always loved V for Vendetta, so we decided to watch the movie while I did her face. I kept looking at my cousins and only catch their evil eyes. As I was finishing the last one, cousin 1 comes up to the seat and sits down on the chair I used for the girls. I looked at him just sitting in the chair and started packing my stuff up. He looked confused and tried to grab at my arm.
What are you doing? Make me look like Darth Maul.
He sounded angry. Cousin 1, why should I do your face? You didn't even ask me to do your face. I continued packing and was walking away.
Just do it. You have all that stuff out.
He sounded like a little kid that couldn't have another cookie. My cousins both came up to me and they began to berate me about how I'm such a jerk and I should just do it anyways because I'd be getting experience.
We shouldn't even have to ask you. You should just do it. Quit being such a jerk. We're telling our dad.
They finally just walked away and I went into the bathroom to make myself look like Ursula from The Little Mermaid. I took about an hour to finish, and when I came out, they were standing in the living room watching TV with my uncle. Uncle came up to me and started yelling about how I've always been so ungrateful and don't deserve anything. "My sons are so upset that you won't do their faces, and you've ruined Halloween for them. You're lucky you're not my kid, or I'd kick your butt." Uncle was still screaming at me when my parents came into the house. Dad, what the heck is going on here? Uncle G, why are you yelling at my daughter like that? OP, are you okay? I didn't even realize I was crying until my dad asked me that. That little jerk won't do their faces. She said she would. If she was my daughter, Uncle got cut off by my dad's angry yelling voice. She isn't your daughter. You have no right to be yelling at her like that. I've been lenient on you because you're my brother-in-law, but this is it. Pack your stuff and leave. You have until tomorrow morning to be out of here. Dad didn't bother listening to G's protests and started walking away. I looked at my cousins through my tears and was happy to see that they were upset. I should mention that the paint is what really made me tear up. It's water activated, so when I started crying and wiping my eyes, it got in my eyes and made the rest of the makeup run. My dad told me to fix my makeup and to go outside to trick or treat when I was done. I did as I was told and had a blast. When we got home, my uncle and his kids were gone. They spent months at my uncle's baby mama's house. Then she kicked them out because she found out he cheated on her. Last I heard from them, the boys were taken away, and my uncle was in jail because of him not having a house, a job, or a way to support them. I don't know the details, but if I did, I'd let you guys know. No wonder you had them in the backyard tent. Karen is mad I have my baby in my place of work. My paternal grandparents own a custom frame store that also sells giftware, jewelry, and needlework supplies. At this time, their store was quite large. I'll explain a bit of the layout to help the story. There was the front and the back separated by a wall with a door. Both were huge rooms. In the front was of course all the merchandise, and the back was where my grandfather did the framing. In the front there was a giant counter. The middle had the till, and on each side there were huge counters where customers would pick stuff for their pictures. It was spacious behind that counter. On to the story. My daughter was maybe a month old when my grandmother called asking if I would be able to help for a day. She had a craft show she was going to and needed to pack a bunch of giftware, but she was being dragged away by errands that had popped up. She already had everything set aside on one of the side counters. All I had to do was pack them up safe. I wouldn't have to deal with any customers or other store stuff, just packing giftware. No heavy lifting, and I could bring my daughter. Of course, I say yes, since I love helping out at the store. I want to note here, I don't get paid to do this. I do it because I want to help. The next morning, I get to the store, and my grandma shows me everything she needs packed and takes off to her errands. I begin packing while my daughter sleeps in her playpen off to the side of the counter with the giftware. A couple hours later, an elder Karen comes in and begins to look around. I keep an eye on her. A lot of elderly ladies steal, but don't notify my grandfather right away in the back because sometimes people look and go. This one unfortunately did not and instead came to the counter. Karen. Hello, is Catherine? My grandma. Here? Me. No, unfortunately, she's out of the store at the moment. However, Kevin, my grandfather, is in the back, and I can go get him for you. Karen looks annoyed and nods. I go to the back and let my grandfather know there's a customer. He comes out, and I go back to packing. A few minutes after, my daughter starts fussing. I had changed her recently, and I knew that cry. She was hungry. I quickly grab a bottle from my little black cooler, pop it in her mouth, and off to sleep she goes while drinking. She was crying for maybe 30 seconds. I gave her a little cheek rub and go back to packing. This is when Karen became Karen. You know, you're really lucky that you have such nice bosses that allow you to bring your kid to work. Though you and I both know she should be in daycare, and you should be focusing on your job. Your baby is a distraction to your work. You couldn't even help me without getting someone else to do it. Me. Oh, I don't actually work here. I'm just here helping with wrapping giftware for the craft show. My grandparents own the store. Kevin is my grandfather and Catherine is my grandma. I'm their granddaughter and this is their great-granddaughter. Karen then looks to my grandfather in disbelief, which I get because he immigrated from Hong Kong, married my grandma, and adopted my dad, who are both white. My grandfather then looks back at me with a look of, you know I hate dealing with these people. All I could do was shrug like, sorry, not my fault Grandma didn't warn us about this one. Then because the silence was getting awkward, I blurted. Me. Yeah, my grandma, Catherine, was super excited when she found out I would be bringing her today. Karen. Ooh. She then goes back to her transaction with my grandfather. I think she was picking up something on hold, and then she leaves. My grandfather shakes his head and goes back to framing. I finished packing. I later told my grandma what happened, and she laughed. No, we don't have finished thesis here. Some backstory. I work in a rather big print shop in a student town. Usually before summer break, we are busy making books with thesis. As anyone who has ever written a thesis or even a paper for a course knows, this takes time, effort, and you turn it in on a particular deadline. We usually know that a deadline is near when many theses are needed. This story happened about 2 years ago. It was Wednesday. We had a busy day with other customers, and there were also 3 of our 4 theses that were picked up or needed to be printed. I just gave a very happy young lady her books when Entitled Mom enters the store. I say good luck to the young lady, and I greet Entitled Mom. Karen. My son needs his thesis Friday. Me. This is a daily business as summer break starts in 2 weeks. Karen. Okay, so his thesis should be about this and that title. Me. Yeah, the topic doesn't matter. We just need the finished thesis as PDF, and we print and bind it for you. Karen, what's a finished PDF? Me, your son did the thesis on a computer. We need the finished version as PDF. We often have parents asking for things for their kids, and sometimes they have zero knowledge about computers. Oh, you should write and print the thesis. My son really doesn't have time for that kind of stuff. Me, we don't offer this kind of service. No, you offer that. The young lady left with what looked like what I need. Me, yeah, because she wrote it and brought the finished file for printing. We only print finished files. I mean, I don't even know anything about this and that title. Karen, then how on earth will my sweet little boy get his bachelor's degree? When he doesn't turn in anything, he would be kicked out. So this is where I get really surprised. In my country, a university can kick you out if you don't turn in your thesis 2 years after you did your last exam. When this happens to you, you need to start again. So this little son, who is at least 23 at this point, didn't do anything for the last 2 years. Me, if he somehow is finished by Friday morning, we can do it express by 1 p.m. Karen, no, you will do it for him. This is what you are here for. Me, no, we only do the printing of the finished file. We won't write it because it is nearly impossible to do in 2 days. So, my son will be kicked out because of you? This is where I got impatient because, I have stuff to do. No, he will be kicked out because he is lazy or stupid, or even both. Karen mumbles something about rude service and storms off. My coworker just shakes his head in disbelief. We saw parents picking up thesis and complaining that the finished product is not what they wanted, but what the kid needed because of guidelines. We had parents complaining about the price, although they agreed on a few hours early. But we never had a mother seriously asking about ghostwriting a whole thesis for her kid. Most of us didn't even have a college degree. I have more if wanted. I'm the new store manager? Okay. So this happened some years ago. I had gotten a job working as a stock person loading the shelves for a craft store. The hours were unholy, 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. It took quite a bit of getting used to, and because the hours were evil, the pickings for such shifts were understandably slim. So it should be no surprise that the manager was the rotten scrapings at the bottom of a very dilapidated barrel. The store had this training system in-house on a computer where you got an account, read what amounted to slideshow notes on safety, about not setting yourself on fire, and a quick overall cliff notes about OSHA, saying not to twist your back while lifting. Now see, that's what the average employee read, and even the slowest reader could zip through in 15 to 20 minutes or so. But that's not what my training manager gave me. She pulled up a training module, didn't check that it was accurate, and walked away, telling me to read it so I could get to work. The very first line of a massive training module said, "As the new store manager, you must know and understand the laws you must follow." Me, hang on. So I called her over the walkie-talkie. Me, training manager? I think you gave me the wrong training manager. OP, I gave you the same training module that I gave everyone else. Me, training manager, I really think you should double check. Training manager, now snapping. Stop making excuses and get to it. Malicious compliance. Now, let me try to help you envision this monstrosity before me. Imagine a phone book scanned into the computer, divided into over 100 sections. Every section has 20 subsections. Every subsection had between 5 and 20 sub-subsections. Every single sub-subsection was 20 pages long, and size 10 font, single-spaced. Details involved laws covering all these delightful little things, like ways the store manager could get themselves and the business sued, and how to avoid this fate at all costs. Or at least, that's how far I managed to read before my malicious compliance ended. There was still a lot left to read. Half an hour in, the training manager kicked me off and had me help shelve, berating me for taking so much time. I again told her that I had the wrong module, and again she told me, "Shut up and stop making excuses." She then went to the computer and closed my module, clearly without even acknowledging the gigantic screen of text instead of the neat little slideshow which pictures and big letters were for 5-year-olds to read. Malicious compliance again. I tried twice and she still wasn't listening. That was all I owed her. A month into my employment and training, I still had not completed reading the phone book, having been given only 30 minutes each day. Finally, the store manager, the actual store manager, came to see why I was incapable of completing a module that should have only taken me 15 minutes, and that I really needed to improve my reading skills. Me. Store manager, I can read just fine, but as the new store manager who will be taking over for you, I really must insist on reading the entire module. Store manager. I'm sorry? Me. Training manager told me to read the store manager training module, and I need actual time to get through it. If I'm not the store manager, then I need to be given the correct module. Store manager. Did you tell her that she had given you the wrong one? Me. Yes, and I quote, and here I pitched my voice to imitate her angry snapping voice. I gave you the same training module that I gave everyone else. Stop making excuses and get to it. Back to normal voice. I told her twice, and she just wouldn't listen. The store manager went very quiet. He silently took me into the break room, got me on the training computer there, and removed the store manager module from my account and put the regular employee module up. I zoomed through that bad boy in less than 10 minutes and got on with my work. The store manager and training manager disappeared for a long time. Epilogue. Sadly, the training manager did not improve her behavior in the following year of my employment at that company. She remained exactly as toxic, incompetent, and a workplace bully right up until I reported her to the hotline with 6 typed up pages of documentation. The regional manager had to come in and put the fear of God and Satan into her before she got very quiet for my remaining few months of employment before I moved out of state. Customer lectured his friend when I exposed his 10% tip. I work in a hotel lounge, and recently in my province, we've redone restrictions and we must now last call at 10 p.m. I swear, ever since this is in place, I've had the thirstiest people in my section at 9:30 p.m. having withdrawals just thinking about getting last called. But I digress. This particular table was thirsty, but very nice. This is a table of 4 men, 9 p.m. They inquire about last call, and I promise them I'll stay on top of their drinks before we get there. I connect with the leader of the bunch. He says he likes me and praises me often, gets the burger with 3 add-ons, also lets me know he wants only 1 bill for the table when the time comes. Likes to drink lots, seems to have a deep wallet, pays for the whole bill, amicable. This is the perfect table. Easy money, I love it. Last call came and went without a fuss. Although I slightly overserved these folks, they never slurred or got aggressive or even displayed any Karen behavior. This is a bit of an irrelevant detail. I just liked this table in general after the really crappy wedding I had to serve the day before. Story for another day. I bring the 1 bill as promised, $350 for the table. I see them argue about the bill a bit, and someone else from the table signed it, and then went outside to mingle on our patio. To my dismay, he had tipped only $45 on the $350 bill, below 15%. The payer even had me deliver 2 shots to another table to be put on his bill, which I did promptly. There was no reason to stiff my tip, but here comes the twist. He didn't put his room number on, and I couldn't find his name in our room system. I decided to go up to the table where he wasn't anymore and lay the bill open in front of the leader I was connecting with all night and just say, "Hey, your bud forgot to put down his room number. Do you mind getting that for me, please?" Pause. Is that what he tipped you? Yes, victory is mine. I just stay pleasant and tell him not to worry about it, and I had a good time serving them. He says this is unacceptable. Storms outside the restaurant to the patio to his friend. I didn't hear or see the interaction, but he came back with a room number and a fixed tip to $70. Not only did I get good money, but I got to get one under-tipper schooled by a proper tipper. Priceless. Edit. There's too many Karens on this sub trying to convince us we don't deserve our 15% tip and we are acting entitled when we vent about low tips on server subreddit. What the heck is wrong with you people? If my perfect customer knew you talked like that to servers about their livelihood, he'd tell you your tipping practice is unacceptable. Am I the jerk for insisting that my aunt pays me $1,500 per hour to tutor her son? To pay my way through law school, I ran an LSAT tutoring service, though I have since dropped offering this service. But that didn't stop my aunt from calling me up on Saturday attempting to hire me to tutor her son. Even if I were still offering this service, there are multiple reasons why I wouldn't take my cousin as a client. Firstly, and most importantly, my cousin is lukewarm at best at the idea of becoming a lawyer. Secondly, only one law school in my country requires the LSAT, and it is reconsidering whether to continue this requirement at all. Thirdly, my cousin is only 16, so his focus should be on high school exams and not on exams 4 years away that may not even be required. Despite this, my aunt was adamant I tutor her son. I offered to send her my old notes and call some of my old students to see whether any of them would take my cousin on as a client, but she insisted it be me. Because my aunt wouldn't take no for an answer, I tried a different tactic, charging rate of $500 per hour. I'm well aware that my time is not worth anything close to this stupidly outrageous rate, so I was hoping it would scare my aunt away. Well, it did, but just a bit too well. My aunt took offense to my offer and quickly transitioned from guilt-tripping me, "We're family are supposed to support each other, etc., to being outraged. "You greedy, ungrateful little jerk. Your parents didn't do their job with you, did they?" etc. I'm not sure what I'm being ungrateful about, as my aunt has never done anything for me. Regardless, I laughed at her and said, $1,000 per hour then. My aunt fired off a few more choice words, then hung up. My mother called me a few hours later and asked if I were willing to apologize, send over the notes, and call my old students to keep the peace, as a favor to her. My mom is an angel, but she has let her family walk all over her for her entire life. And frankly, I'm sick of letting her family walk all over me too, so I refused. My mother wasn't happy with my decision, but accepted it, and I thought that was the end of that. But earlier today, my aunt had the audacity to send me this text. "Here's my email. Send me the notes." Maybe this wasn't my best decision, but I responded with this text. "Here's my bank account details. The rate is now $1,500 per hour." So why do I think I'm the jerk? Well, at this point, I'm just goading my aunt. That being said, I thought I was more than reasonable throughout this entire exchange, but maybe I should have just said no and been firmer on that stance. Am I the jerk? Karen really wanted some chicken thighs. I had to go out shopping today. Nothing big, just some groceries I needed last minute. I went to Wally World first, then to a local grocery store for the rest. I go to this store for all my meat because they have butchers and all of the meat and seafood is fresh. Anyway, I picked up 2 small packages of skinless chicken thighs as I have a recipe I've been wanting to try and a whole chicken for Christmas dinner. As I was walking away, I heard someone say, "Excuse me, excuse me." I didn't think whomever it was talking to me. The store was pretty crowded, so I just kept walking. Then I felt someone pinch my neck. Not like a small pinch. This woman full on, got as much of my flesh as she could just between her bony fingers and twisted. I nearly screamed. I said, "Excuse me." I turned around, looking at her like, what the heck? This lady had a full basket of food, soda, and other junk. She had on her mask, but I could tell she was scowling at me behind it. "I'm sorry, but you took the last package of chicken thighs, and I was about to get them." Now I'm fighting the urge to lose it on her. Who the heck pinches a stranger? I bit my tongue while she continued to tell me about her dinner plans, then says, "Do you mind giving them to me? I got 3 boys at home, and I need to go." I simply say no. I got them first, and one of the butchers at the counter might be able to help her. I was about to walk away when she pushed her cart against mine. "I don't have time for that. I need to get home and cook. Give them here. You can get something else." At this point, I just wanted to get away from her. Again, I tell her no and push her away to get the last couple of things I needed. I thought that was the end of it. Not even close. I'm looking at milk when she full-on rams her shopping cart into my leg. I think she got a running start and slammed it into my leg. Side note, my left knee is dislocated. I can walk on it, but it's painful, and right now I can't afford the time off for surgery. My doctor put me in a brace that helps me get around until I get the surgery. She hit me on my left leg. My knee just gave out, and I hit the floor, crying in pain. This woman didn't even blink. I saw her reach into my cart, take my chicken, and walk away as if she did nothing wrong. Thankfully, more than enough people had seen what she had done. A couple helped me up while someone else got help. I was crying and sobbing, the pain so intense. As employees brought a wheelchair for me, others were asking if I was okay, and some customers even ran after the woman. She was stopped at the checkout by a manager who returned my chicken to me, while the woman ranted and raved that she had a family to feed, and I could have just given her the chicken cause it's Christmas. Eventually, I checked out. A couple employees were kind enough to help me to my car and even load up my groceries. The manager asked if I wanted to call the police or press charges, but I just wanted to get home. He gave me some coupons, apologized, and said they would deal with the woman. I called my brother-in-law on the way home. He met me at my apartment, helped me inside, and unloaded everything for me. As of right now, I'm sitting on my couch with a very red and swollen knee. I have taken my anti-inflammatory medication, got it elevated, and put some ice on it. Definitely going to need to see my doctor tomorrow though, because the pain is coming in waves at this point. She could have seriously injured me. Over 2 packs of chicken. Edit. So the store did call the police, but I was gone by the time they got there. An officer contacted me. I got a meeting set up at the station tomorrow after my doctor's appointment. The officer informed me she was questioned and released, not arrested. They do want me to file a formal complaint in order to have her arrested for assault. I promise I'm okay. The swelling has gone down some and I'm on some painkillers. I'll make it until tomorrow. Another quick update. Thanks for the rewards and words of support. Promise I'm going to the police station tomorrow after I see my doctor. I will be pressing charges against her.
Click this button to join as a channel member and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
And come watch this video next, the one that just popped up on the screen. It's one of the best ones we've ever done.